Graphic design is a crucial skill to learn for beginner digital marketers. In this video, you'll get a brief overview of the use graphic design can bring to your arsenal of digital skills. Graphic design is basically designing illustrations, modifying images, and adding elements that'll make them usable for your digital assets. Whether you're creating a lead magnet, a website, a Facebook page, or whatever else that you'll need digital art for or digital designs for. First thing I want to mention is that graphic design is different than web design, obviously. When you're creating a website, a Facebook page, or an ad on any platform, you'll need to create a banner or some type of digital graphic, and you might need icons or elements required for the design. Professionals in this domain, they use tools like Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, Canva, stuff of the sort. There are multiple tools that you can use, but this skill requires a lot of training and lots of time. And let me tell you, you could spend a good year on that and still you wouldn't be called a professional. The goal isn't to become a graphic designer though, in this case is video. If you are, then that's perfect. You should learn Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop and similar types of tools. If you just want to learn the basics so that you can communicate easily with a graphic designer, which you can then outsource to, it's important to use a simple tool to start off. That way you learn the basics and you learn what's needed, and that way you can easily communicate what you're thinking to your graphic designer that you outsource on Fiverr or Upwork or whatever. If you guys don't know much about Fiverr and Upwork, they're outsourcing platforms where you just contact someone and based on their skills you can get very cheap things done for you. It's pretty amazing, especially if you live in North America. Then you'll pay, for example, someone $20 that lives in another country. Then that $20 is maybe transformed into like $50 or $100. So the conversion of your money also plays a big role. But even if you're anywhere else, it's still worth it. When you're starting with Canva, you get a lot of pre-made elements. You get banners, icons, much of that stuff is done for you. And then what's needed is to place them in correct spacing, correct angles, placing the elements on top of each other, stuff like that. And very similar to web design, there are a lot of different patterns that you can use or principles that you can use. If you need stock image, for example, let's say for a background or just for a banner or something like that, you can use stuff like Envato Elements or Adobe Stock. Adobe Stock is pretty expensive, so I wouldn't really recommend it. If you're just starting off and you don't have like a very demanding client, then you'll be just fine with Envato Elements. They have very good stock images, and it's just that Adobe Stock is on another level. A lot of concepts that you use in web design, like I said, are applicable also to graphic design. And these principles are things like, for example, the rule of thirds. As you can see in this video that I'm filming right now, I'm kind of at the third of the camera, and you see my eyes are kind of at the third of if I would break the camera in three, 1, 2, and then the 3, the bottom part, my eyes are pretty much on the first bar. And this is something that's used in a lot of different areas where design is applicable, in art and stuff like that. And then another really important thing is spacing. So don't put too many things on the page, don't put too many things on the graphic design. You gotta keep it well balanced. And choosing the right balance of colors and fonts is another thing that's very important. These things are pretty much the gist of graphic design. They'll be how to place your objects and how to choose the colors that you need for the graphic design, and also understanding the client's needs, obviously. So if you learn to apply these simple concepts when creating a banner for your homepage, for example, then you should be okay. And like I said, you can always outsource the more complicated work on Fiverr or Upwork. At least you'll know how to ask the right questions and you won't get double-crossed because you don't know what you're talking about and you don't know how much the job is supposed to last and stuff like that. Sometimes you just need to know the basics and you need to know how to navigate around. At least you'll know how to bring it to somebody else and you'll know what they're talking about when they're asking you questions and things of the sort. Watch this little screen capture that I've done for you guys. It's a kind of a quick example of showing different principles. Watch for the negative space that I leave in the design, the color palettes I use, the fonts, and what I'll be showing you is basically the thumbnail of this video. And so you'll understand in about a few minutes, if you see what is used and how it's used. This is the important part. It's a very abstract thing, and that's what art is in the end. So watch this short screen capture that I've done for you guys, and check out the principles of spacing and negative spacing, the color palettes, the fonts that I use, and watch how they go together and how I've put up this simple thumbnail for this YouTube channel. And now, of course, it could be better. It was done in about roughly 10 minutes. Right, so I want to show a quick example of what I mean by graphic design. So this, for example, is a thumbnail that I had to create for this video. And obviously it didn't start off like that. And it finished something like that. A few things that you need to consider when creating an element. For example, you have the background, which I just went and find an image on stock, like Adobe stock footage. Well, this was found on Envato, Envato elements. And then you have the title that you can position somewhere in the middle, or you can do something like normal text, you know, and put everything on the side. It all depends on what you want it to look like, but you see, even like that, it could look okay. But you see, why I didn't choose this is because it felt too crowded. There were too many things overlapping, and the design didn't feel right. And so, but obviously I hadn't finished it yet, but this is what I was coming up with. Eliminating some things like this, eliminating this as well. And then I said, you know what, probably eliminate this and put some icons, something a bit more imagey. And so that's how I came up with this. Then found some quick shadows on here, shadow. Actually, it's in elements. And shadow. And you choose whatever you want. You know, there are a bunch of them. I chose this one. I could have done something like this as well. You know, put this here. Like this. Get smaller. And then you could use it instead of this one. You could use this. It'll make something like it's floating, but it gives another effect, you know, it gives another style. And so obviously all of them would have to be like that, or similar, or symmetric, or something at least. What you want when you're creating this type of graphic is to be consistent with the colors. Obviously, like I said, the colors are very important. So you see there's gray, white, yellow. That's all there is here. Yes, you can mix up the colors, you can add other colors. But as long as you have something that works well, like look at some of these templates. You see this? This is what I came up with in the beginning. I started with this. Looks very simple. It's basically the same shapes as were here, but some of them I made them a bit smaller or bigger, and I moved them around a little bit. And then I changed the colors, added a background in the back for some texture. I did a few things, you know, added a little highlighter in the back here, which is just a rectangle, a black rectangle. I chose the color, made it black. So you have to make sure that everything is consistent, your color, and also your hierarchy. So there has to be a hierarchy to everything. And you see here, the title is pretty much the thing that's on top. But what do I really want people to see? And that's where the hierarchy comes in. I want people to see this. This is the most important text. If you're only going to read one thing out of this thumbnail, I want you to read this: web design, what's and why. And that's what I'm going to be putting as the biggest thing on the banner, on the graphic. And so this can be a bit smaller now. I have my logo here just for a bit of branding. And then these little icons, I changed them. I downloaded them on Envato. They weren't this color, but then what I did is I inserted the file into Adobe Illustrator, and I modified the images, the colors. Just put in my own brand colors, and that's it. Now, if you don't know how to use Adobe Illustrator, I suggest you learn a little bit about it. I'm not a pro at it. I can't do like crazy graphics. I can't do these icons on my own. But you never really need to do anything on your own most of the times. Unless a client asks you for a specific, like, I want my own icons, I want something, and then you show him some good icons and he still doesn't, he wants his own icons. No one else has them, then okay, you can have someone create them for you, but at least you know what you're looking for, you know, and maybe you can tell them that you want in a specific color and whatnot. Then when they give it back to you, maybe the colors aren't fitting and you don't like them so much after a week or something. And at that point, what do? Well, you're gonna have to change the colors yourself. So learning a little bit of Adobe Illustrator is important, but don't go all out. I would say about a week's worth of time of just dabbling into it. Obviously, if you do some You have to also act. If you just learn for a week Adobe Illustrator, trust me, you won't learn. You have to do about a week of learning, and then you can actually do something, you know, do maybe some of these, make some color changing, add your colors to your library. That way it's easy to choose your own colors. And then at that point, you'll be pretty much set. After you learned a little bit of Adobe Illustrator, make sure you keep going with Canva, because Canva is very simple to use and very easy. And you probably won't need more than that most of the times. Then if you want to go into Photoshop and all that stuff, you know, it's on you. You can do that. If you want to go more into the graphic designer route or making illustrations and stuff, then that's where you want to go. But if you want to just learn to be able to communicate with a certain client, or for specific needs that you're going to need for graphic design, like when you're building a website, you're obviously going to need some graphic work. You're going to need icons, you're going to need some banners, you're going to need ads, you're going to need a bunch of stuff. So being able to communicate with a graphic designer is very important, and knowing what you're talking about helps you not get screwed and also get a good price, because you know what they're doing. That's pretty much for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know if you like the series. Next coming up is web creation, which is web development. So basically creating your website. And after that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're jumping into SEO, my favorite part. Alright guys, I'll be coming up with some good templates as well, so look out for that. That's what I could allocate as time for this task. Honestly, if I wanted to make it perfect, I could have spent 3 hours on it. Then I would be missing other tasks that I need to do, so you gotta keep priorities up. Alright guys, take care.